Joining me now is someone who knows a thing or two about handling crime, former Queensland Premier Campbell Newman, and regular on the other side. Campbell, thanks very much for joining us once again. First of all, do you have any advice for Premier Miles?
Yeah, just in a few words, take this seriously. It's not a laughing matter. It's not a laughing matter at all. And indeed, the problem for the Premier is he has viewed this as a political issue to be managed as opposed to a really important community safety issue that has to be dealt with and solved.
There's three parts to this problem really, Campbell, isn't there? There's the policing side, the social work and the criminal justice side, the courts and punishment part. I want to quickly get your thoughts on all of them, but you know, first of all, the criticism and the thought about this recently is focused on the policing part. What are we doing in terms of policing? Is enough happening? And I think we can extrapolate. We'll talk about Queensland, but obviously this applies all around the country. What do you think in terms of policing, how we're doing?
Well, I believe that the police commissioner needs to do a better job. And it pains me to say that because I know the commissioner, and in the past I regarded her quite highly. When I was Premier, she was appointed as the fire commissioner because she was felt to be the person who could go into the Queensland Fire Service and actually sort out a few important issues. The appointment of a police commissioner is something that can't be unravelled easily by a government. You don't just sack a police commissioner. And so the position comes with that authority, that responsibility, but also security of tenure. And what I'm getting at is that the commissioner has a responsibility to protect the people of Queensland. The commissioner, therefore, has, if you like, the opportunity to stand up, speak up and demand the resources, the manpower and the laws and changes to the actual youth justice system to allow her and her officers to do her job. I haven't seen her do that.
Right, okay. So she needs to, first of all, make that call.
What we need is that police resources to be diverted from some of the things that they normally do, which are important community safety issues such as AEDT and speed traps, etc. That should, for a period of time, that should be probably wound back a bit, and the resources instead put into dealing with youth crime and having police patrolling the streets of our cities and towns through the wee small hours, apprehending young people who are just wandering around, at 3 a.m. and actually sort of, essentially searching them for weapons and making sure they're not up to anything. And, that's something the commissioner could be and should be doing right now. I just make the side comment that, the police were very effective during COVID across Australia in locking law-abiding Australians in their homes and, sort of restricting them to their own states. They've also been very good in the last 30 or 40 years at sort of levying huge fines on everyday Australians, doing 67 kilometres an hour in a 60 zone, for example.
All right, so we get the kids. We've got them in custody or apprehended. The reoffending statistics for serious crime, so that the reoffenders from the serious crime cohort are very high for youth offenders. So are the courts and the criminal justice system then failing us after the police have done their job? Absolutely.
And here's the thing, and people often do a double take when I say this, but the Goss Labor government were elected in 1989. It's now, well into 2024. So in that entire period, over 30 years, there's only been 5 years of LNP government. So the system that we have today in Queensland, the laws, the processes, the way the whole youth justice thing works, the judges, the magistrates, the youth workers, the officials who run the system, it's all from the Labor Party. It's interesting the Premier has decided to have a shot at magistrates, and I can sort of understand where he's coming from given some of the actions and decisions of magistrates, but the Labor Party have appointed them. They're, frankly, they're their people, where if they're doing something wrong and they're caught out for it initially, then we have these diversionary programs. Then maybe the graduation from that is, if you keep going, you go to these boot camps. Now, Labor Party ended boot camps that we had just started as trials when we were in office, take them out to remote areas of this state, have grown-ups in charge, give them a challenging program to actually perhaps get them thinking about other things, get them away from social media, their own networks. If they do reoffend, then we have a youth justice system that is, and I'm going to say this, it's about punishment and the protection of the community. Now,
well, this seems to
be...
be...
it's a trigger warning for any lefties that might be watching this, because apparently you're not meant to punish people these days. It's a strange idea, I know. Most people would not, most hard-working, law-abiding people would shake their head and go, what, I thought it was about a punishment. No, that's not what the left-wing academics believe, or the left-wingers that run the system. It's just about... it's about other things, and punishment.
And then they wonder why the kids have got this idea of impunity, you know, that they can't be punished, and they behave that way. And we have this group, as David Crisafulli said, of untouchables of kids, because the brazenness with which we're seeing a lot of the car theft. I mean, this modus operandi of these kids seems to be that they steal a car, you know, brazenly will do it in broad daylight. They don't care if the people are home.
Let me tell you what happened in our own street only last week. We had a group of young teens come into our street in a stolen car, and that was all captured on CCTV from our house and adjoining houses. They proceeded to case houses up and down the street. They tried to break into the other neighbour's house, next door neighbour's house, and then further down the street, about 100 yards, they broke into the house. Mum and kids were there in the house asleep that night. This is about 3 a.m. They went around, roamed around the premises, found the car keys, stole the family's four-wheel drive. Now, Dad happened to be away interstate. Now, how horrific, you know, that this is going on. I mean, it was unheard of beyond 3 or 4 years ago. It just didn't happen. Now, again, we've got a Premier and a Labor regime who've been in charge for 9 years now. It's their problem. And we go back to where we started this interview. The Premier needs to stop giggling about it, needs to stop treating it as a political issue to be managed, and actually do something.
Yeah. Campbell Newman, thank you very much for your time. We really appreciate it. We'll catch you again on the show soon.